Randy Weingarten. She's president of the American Federation of Teachers. Randy, it's good to have you here. And as Elon mentioned, your own teachers acknowledge that remote learning has been a failure and really want students in the classroom. But What would it take? What would you tell a parent who says, how do I get my kid to safely go to school every day of the school week? Is that possible?
It's not possible. But what the other survey document that was really important in this survey, is that when you say to both parents and teachers, what about using the kind of CDC guidelines of physical distancing and masks to make sure that everybody is safe, as well as actually, fighting against community spread like New York has done so successfully. When you see that, 76% of teachers say they're in for going to school because teachers want to teach kids. They don't want to deal with President Trump's political agenda. We have been dealing with this since April. We put our report out about how to reopen schools 2 months before the pediatricians. But all of a sudden, because, Biden was at an NEA conference, now President Trump is rushing to come up with guidance
But
today.
Here's my question, going back to the original one, which you answered succinctly. I said, is there any way that parents can send their kids to school every day of the school week in the fall? And you said no. I mean,
not 5 days a week.
Right. So let's talk about what those options are. They're going to ripple through the entire economy. So what are parents supposed to do if their kids are going to be home either a couple of days a week or half of a day? I mean, can we use outside learning? Is there any other way? Can you use the hybrid model to get them to spend more time in school safely?
So this is why we think that unless we can actually have double the number of teachers and double the number of spaces, what we have been told by the health practitioners here and abroad is that you need about 6 feet of physical distancing. That means that that you have basically 50% capacity in schools. And ultimately, that's what bars are doing. That's what offices are doing. And that's what schools have to do. And the states that understand this are starting to plan for it this way. But that's why we actually need money from the federal government for the ventilation, for the PPE, for all of these kinds of things. But what I'm saying is that teachers who know that remote doesn't work, really want to help their kids and really want kids to be engaged in school. So we've been trying to figure out how to make it work. The people who are problematic here are the administration, who's done actually nothing about this. And now, as we're getting closer and closer to time school is starting, now they're trying to pass the buck.
Let me bring in Elon Moy, Randy, for a question here. Elon?
Yeah, Randy, you mentioned the CDC guidelines, but there's also been a lot of attention paid to the recommendations from the American Association of Pediatricians, who are now saying that 3 feet of social distancing is an acceptable compromise for students in schools. Is that something that's an acceptable compromise for teachers?
The pediatricians have gotten that from the WHO, and the WHO will also tell you that you have to actually really reduce community spread, which is completely, and you have to really have masks that are being worn by kids. We haven't seen that guidance, other than the WHO, anywhere else in the world. And in fact, what's happened in the world that's gone back to school is that they have really reduced community spread, completely contrary to what's going on in the United States, in places like Texas and in Florida. And they started off really slowly with young kids to see what was happening. So so we've talked to the pediatricians last night. They are concerned that their guidance is being used to say 3 feet is a max, not a minimum. And what we're saying is that if you do 6 feet, then you'll actually get to 3 feet.